Welcome back to the AccelerateHER interviews. I'm Elizabeth Pirrie, Chief Operating Officer of AccelerateHER, and I have another fantastic female founder with me today, winner of our MedTech and Science category, Lise Pape from Walk with Path. Hi Lisa, how are you?
Hello, I'm well, thanks, and thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you on here. Start off by telling us about Walk with Path, Lisa. We saw your pitch at the awards, which of course was fantastic, but I'd love to hear more of your kind of sales pitch about it.
Of course. So Walk with Path is based on a project I started in 2014. At the time, I was studying Innovation Design Engineering at the Royal College of Arts and Imperial College in London, which was a kind of inventor's course, you could say. And for my final degree project, I decided to look at mobility and some of the challenges that it can pose in daily life. I was interested in this because my father has Parkinson, so I've followed for many years some of the progression and some of the things that are more difficult to watch as a close observer, like falls and so on. And I wanted to see what I could do to try and make a difference that was going to be positive and not have the kind of side effects that drugs can have. And I'd noticed some specific things that kind of didn't add up for me with him, like when he was struggling to step forward, when he was experiencing what is called freezing, then, you know, he would stand on the floor in the living room, for instance, and not be able to take a step forward. And then he would ask me or somebody close to him to put a foot in front of his, and that instantly allowed him to step over that foot.
Oh,
and
right.
Yeah, I mean, it comes across as a bit of kind of magic and a bit weird maybe when you see it the first few times. And then I remember similarly once he was coming to London and I was living on the 3rd floor in a flat with no lift, and I was thinking, oh my God, how is he gonna get up? And it wasn't a problem, you know, in the street it was a problem, but actually walking up the stairs was no problem at all. So it was one of the reasons I wanted to look at this phenomena. And so I started working also with other people with Parkinson's, and I included also people with MS because they have, you know, movement difficulties as well, but at a very different stage in life. And I discovered that this freezing symptom I had seen, it's very well known and quite well described. And actually in some hospitals, they put tape on the floor for the tape to act like a staircase for people to train on, to kind of train their steps and their walking.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating because it's so simple, and yet it's an unsolved issue for people in daily life. You know, they have the tape at the hospital, but they don't have the tape at home. And so I wanted to create something that could be mobile, that could allow people to go out into the world with their own solution, as opposed to expecting the world to be changed for them. Mm-hmm. And that's what led to Pathfinder being developed, which is our first product. And then a lot of the work with people with MS led to Pathfield being developed, which is the product we currently have in development. It's an insole for improving balance for people with limited sensation on the soles of the feet.
Okay, so explain to me how Pathfinder works. It more or less, am I right in saying it projects lines onto the ground in front of them?
That's right, yes. So we call it kind of your mobile staircase, but it projects lines using laser technology. So essentially it's a device that you strap onto your shoe, and on top of where the toes are, you have a little box that sits, and that box hosts the electronics, which includes the laser and how it switches on and so on. And then the laser is projected on the ground in front of the wearer at a distance set by the user. So they choose how their step length should be and how long they want the line to be projecting. And then they use it as a target really to step across for every step. Similar to how you would on the staircase, you use each step as a target. So that's how Pathfinder works. It's a medical device, and we have had it clinically validated as well in a study conducted in the Netherlands some years back, where we found a 50% reduction in freezing in people who use the product. And actually just now we're about to embark on a clinical study with the NHS to test it in the NHS setting in London, which is really exciting.
Oh, that is exciting and just so incredible. That must feel so good for you to have watched your dad suffer with that and to find a solution that helps him. That's amazing. You must be
Yeah.
very happy about that.
Well, it's so nice to hear from our users about how they can benefit, how they can go about doing activities in daily life, how some of them can remain at work as opposed to retiring early because they can walk and travel and do basic things that most of us, are lucky enough to take for granted.
Yeah. And so what about the insole for people with MS then? How far on are you with that?
Yeah, so the insole is at a prototype stage. And last year we were fortunate enough to attract R&D funding to actually take it through to the market, which will be next year. So we're aiming to launch it at the end of next year. And the insole is actually for a broad market. It's both for people with MS, but it's also for anyone else with sensory difficulties on the soles of their feet. And that's actually very common in diabetes. So we're testing it in a few various populations. And again, we're just about to embark on a big clinical study at Manchester, testing it in people with diabetic peripheral neuropathy. So that will be really exciting.
That is exciting. That's just incredible. I am in awe, Lisa. That's just fantastic. And you did so well to win at the awards. You were up against some tough competition. I'm certainly glad I wasn't a judge having to choose between you. What impact has winning the awards had on you and being part of our community as well?
I think just after the award, there was some press, and I think the AccelerateHER brand is very strong. So a few people contacted me on LinkedIn and so on. So that was really nice. So I think it's been a lot about the contacts that have come from being part of it. And of course, the community, I've been part of some of the calls we've had. I hope at some stage we'll have the opportunity to all meet in person. That could be nice to share experiences.
I hope so.
Yeah,
yeah,
that could be nice.
Yeah, that's great. So I wonder, Lisa, have you got any advice for aspiring female founders out there, in particular maybe those that are in the medtech and science field, who maybe have that wee idea of something that they think could change lives? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been going for about 6 years now, and I think when I first set out, I thought it was going to be a bit quicker. I thought it was going to perhaps be a bit easier, you could say. But being in the medical area is hard. There's a lot of barriers. There's a lot of hurdles to overcome, both from a regulatory point of view, but also from reimbursement kind of point of view. Every country is different. At the moment, we have reimbursement in Denmark and Norway for Pathfinder, and we're hoping to get it in the UK following the NHS study. And then we also applied in Germany. But each country has their own rules, their own reasons for reimbursing things, and it's very lengthy. We've been pending the German application now for almost a year, and we have no decision yet.
Good grief.
So it requires a ton of patience, I think you could say. And of course, it requires, probably more funding than would do an app that is for direct to consumer type business, right? Which is quick to market, and you put it on the app store and you can maybe get going. But in the medical area, again, when I'm speaking to investors and so on, a lot of them aren't really that interested in the medical area because of the time to market, it's slow. And so I think that for somebody in that specific field, it's just very important to try and be aware that it will be slow. Yeah. And if you start at the same time as somebody doing a consumer app, you might see them growing their team and growing their revenue base, and you're not, and it can feel a bit painful sometimes, but I hope we'll get there at one point too, right? That it will all have been worth it. We are in discussions right now with some big potential companies that could be partners, also for us going commercial on a bigger scale. So I think there are opportunities in the medical area that hopefully will arrive as well in due course.
Fingers crossed. So patience required, and it will all pay off in the end, hopefully, I think is the message there. Lisa, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thanks for taking the time this morning. All that remains is for me to thank our partners, Scotland Can Do, Barclays Eagle Labs and CGI UK. If you've enjoyed this and you want to see more, please do click on the subscribe button down below and join me again to hear from some of our fantastic female founders. Thanks again, Lise. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.